Hello and welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live. My name is Daniel Cott and I'm delighted to be joined by Record Sports Michael Gannon and Craig Swan. Guys, how's it going?
All right, Daniel, thank you.
Good evening. It's just a shame. It's a quiet night with nothing to talk about.
Well, that's the reason why I've got you guys on, because there's only one game, or maybe not only one game.
I've said it on.
But the big game worth talking about is the game that both you guys were at yesterday, Celtic and Rangers. Swanee, I know, obviously, you did the show with us yesterday from Celtic Park. Mick, I'll maybe start with yourself. Basically, how did you see the game?
First of all, it was an absolutely enthralling, fantastic contest, as this game always is. I mean, see, for a fixture that always delivers. I mean, it's such a big cliche, but this game and a must-watch and all that. So this is supposed to be a meaningless game. The league's already done. It was absolutely sensational. At times end-to-end drama. Now, I think I look back, I think there's only been 3 goalless draws in this fixture since this century. I mean, if it's a game that has to be watched, I mean, if people moan about the plays too many times, every game is almost a classic. Honestly, it's brilliant. And by the way, it's not a really trendy thing to do, but both teams deserve a lot of credit for that, by the way, for producing a game that delivers drama on a non-stop basis. So, fair play to them. Big round of applause and all that. In terms of the actual game, I thought Rangers deserved to win. I think Celtic, I know they keep saying it's not an issue and it's not an excuse, but I think there is a slight dip in intensity in Celtic. I think the gap does mean that the jeopardy is slightly gone for them and the edge is slightly lost. That's not a great excuse. I thought the first half, Celtic were pretty woeful. But listen, you've got to give a lot of credit to the Rangers. I thought they came out all guns blazing. They've clearly worked out a way to play against Celtic. I mean, they've now scored 3 goals in the last 3 Old Firm games against Celtic. They've won 2 in the bounce. They scored 3 goals towards the end of last season. Also, I think it's 4 times in the last 6 games they've scored 3 goals against Celtic. So they've clearly worked out a way to play against Celtic. I'm not saying they've figured them out or they've got their number, but they've figured out a way to play against Celtic that makes them really uncomfortable and can get them results. Rangers, I thought, played extremely well first half, deserved to be ahead, probably could have been more ahead. Celtic were way off it. Second half, I thought Celtic picked up big time. I think the change, big on Adam Maeda through the middle, and I don't think he had a big impact in the game. I think moving Maeda to the flank got him up against James Tavernier, and right away he was in behind 2 or 3 times, got the goal from his side. Made a big difference. I think they got to 2 each. I think momentum was with Celtic. Rangers looked as though the legs had gone after the Fenerbahce exploits. But they had a wee chance on the break when Dessers kind of dithered and kind of cut inside. But it gave a bit of hope that the chance was still there on the break. And sure enough, big ball at the park, really badly defended. They get the goal. And I think they probably deserved it for the efforts they put in, hanging on at two each and having a bit of quality when they needed it. And it was Rangers' day. I mean, listen, it won't affect the title race, the destination where the title's going this year. But it's given Celtic plenty of food for thought. It's given Rangers a wee bit. My match report today's paper, I said that this week's given Rangers fans a bit of pride back because they've been battered from pillar to post all season. Let's be honest, Celtic fans have been kind of laughing at them at times. The Queen's Park. I mean, when Barry Ferguson's a job, the reaction across the city was hilarity. Look at this. So they brought in the staunch Avengers and all this all these jokes and all that stuff. Well, you know what? Barry's had the last laugh because his team was really organised on Sunday. They were really motivated. And they got a win that lifts the entire place on the back of a fantastic performances against Fenerbahce to get through. So you've got to give the Rangers their day in the sun. They deserve it. But Celtic, as I say, I've got some food for thought because they're flying the league. They've done the hard part. I get the feeling that they know they've done the hard bit. They've got through the long winter with a lot of points that are giving them the gap. But there's been a wee bit of drop-off. And you look at the squad, you look at the bench, you think, maybe not quite as all-encompassing strength and powerful as maybe they think they are. There's work to be done there. Some of the players, I think, have had a dip, and some might be maybe looking over the shoulder to the summer. But yeah, there's definitely things for Celtic to work about, think about as well.
Swanee, as Mick says, it was Rangers' day. Hugh Dale writes in saying, one of you's called it right. So
I said 3-2. I said 3-2, just the other way around.
And they've had a lot of praise, Rangers, rightly so. But I think it's probably better to start on Celtic. Let me read a couple of comments out to you, and if you're watching at home, please get involved in the comments section below if you want to get involved in the conversation. Kenny Wilson says, Celtic got what they deserved. A team that for weeks now has been playing like they know the league is over. They just need to turn up, win games. I jokingly said the game was just a friendly, given the lead, but that's exactly what Celtic seem to be treating it like. That's twice they've lost this very average Rangers side. Paul McCormick follows up by saying, yet again, Celtic fail to get grips with Rangers flooding midfield. We make mistake after mistake. Clement's team did the same. Why are we not learning? That's 9 goals against us so far this season, with another game to come. They bring on a forward who scores the winner. We bring on a very expensive forward who contributed nothing. Just to give it a bit of balance though, Marzuno says, a great man once said, we'll see you in May. And John follows up with saying, remind me which team is still on for the treble and which team is likely to win hee-haw. So, I mean, Swanee, is this maybe in some ways a blessing in disguise for Celtic? A kick up the backside they maybe needed?
Blessing in disguise, I'm not sure that's the right phrase. Kick up the backside, I'm not sure that's the right phrase either. I think it's just a reminder that you have to be on it every single game if you want to win. If you want to win matches, and that just doesn't go for Rangers games. And anytime you slip below, you're in danger of putting yourself in a bit of trouble. And Celtic can get away with it on occasion. They have got away with it on occasions this season when they haven't played as well. But Rangers have shown that if Celtic aren't up to their levels and they don't hit their levels, that they're capable of punishing them. But I think that's something Celtic would have known anyway. I think in the grand scheme of things, listen, we all talked about it in the build-up to the game, and it's the thing that Celtic supporters have been saying mainly through the day and in the lead-up to the game. I think one of the comments there was, see you in May, and that is, at the end of the day, that is the big picture. Celtic are more than likely to walk away with 3 trophies this year. So, there is, we can talk all we like about lines in the sand and warning shots and this, that, and the next thing, but at the end of the day, Celtic are going to walk away with the prizes, and it's been shown for the majority of the major games when it's come to the crunch when Celtic have played Rangers that Celtic have been the ones that have got it done. So I wouldn't think there's any cause for any sort of major alarm. Certainly some alarm though, and Michael touched on it. Losing 3 goals in 3 successive matches against Rangers isn't clever, and that's not good. And I don't know what that suggests. I don't know what it says. I don't know whether people don't do their jobs properly or get a wee bit frenzied in the atmosphere or lose their way a wee bit. I'm not sure. But that shouldn't really be happening to a Celtic team. Not when you consider that they can go into Champions League games and they can go to Munich and just about get through with a clean sheet before they lose one in stoppage time, yet they're just shipping goals to Rangers for fun. So I'm not sure what the situation is there. Are they too open? I don't know. Maybe they think they can just go and win the game. They impart their way onto the game and they'll just win it. Maybe that's something that might have to change, but I don't think Celtic have got any reason for alarm. I would agree with Michael. I looked at Celtic's bench yesterday, and they aren't as strong as what many people would make them out to be if you get certain guys out injured. But I think Brendan Rodgers is fully aware of that. Michael and I sat together at Villa Park when Brendan Rodgers was forced to bring Dane Murray on at the end. Mm-hmm. No offence to Dane Murray, but that's not the Champions League level they need to be at. They need to be in a position where they're making the changes, and the same goes for the Premiership. I think lessons will be learned. They have to be learned. I mean, Celtic talked all week in the build-up to the game about the heart of the game at Ibrox and how they would be fired up by that. Well, clearly not fired up enough. So what will be really interesting is the final Celtic Rangers game of the season at Ibrox. Because Celtic really will be fired up, or if they're not, they should be, whether or not the league's done and dusted by then or not, because you don't want to be winning you want to be winning the title in a bit of style. You don't want to have lost 3 games to Rangers while you've done it, even though in the grand scheme of things, the team with the most points wins the league. But they'll want to go to Ibrox and put on a show in that last game. And if Rangers can beat them again, then it might be a bit more to the warning shot brigade. But I'm not really sure about it at the moment.
Well, Mick, just before I bring you back in there, let me just read out Celtic's bench for anyone that hasn't. Obviously, Ida come on, Yang come on, Greg Taylor was there, Sinisalo, the backup goalie, obviously. But after that, Johnny Kenny, Dane Murray, Ralston, Jude Bonner and Francis Turley. So, I mean, anyone looking at that, I do think, is there the depth there? I mean, I would throw into that as well, and I took a little bit of stick after the show last night for saying that I think we might have seen Dyson Maeda's final Old Firm game at Celtic Park. I mean, his quote yesterday... and I've got it actually here, funnily enough. When he was asked, it was in the pre-match show on Sky Sports, he was asked about his future and he said, well, I'm not sure, that's a difficult question. While I'm here, I'll always want to fight and play for Celtic. It didn't exactly fill me with the belief that he will be here beyond the summer.
No, but why would he be? When the whole Celtic model is you come in, you do well, you perform, you win trophies and you get sold. if he in that interview says, no, you know what, I've got a nice wee house in Ayrshire. I'm going to camp in for the next 10 years. I'm going nowhere. They'd be like, what's the point? They've got the boardroom full of their chairs. That's not the point. That's not how it works.
That's a fair point.
So I don't think there's a problem. Listen, he's 27. I mean, if there's depends on. Again, I've said this before. This show as well. It depends on what the offers on the table, because he's worth so much to Celtic. It has to be a sensational offer to cash in them. Yeah. And he's a guy who you don't need to worry about him getting his head turned or worrying about something elsewhere, because he's just not. It's not his nature. He's an absolute workhorse. I thought he was one of the few that get pass marks on Sunday. Is it his last one at Celtic Park? Quite possibly. If Celtic a bid for 20 million quid in the summer, then it's you have to say thanks for the memories and good luck. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Because that's the model. That's how you bring in players for 1.5 million on the promise of, if you do well, we give you a platform and you can go and make 70 grand a week somewhere else down the line.
And the thing is,
that's not a problem.
I was just going to say, the thing is it 3.5 years he will have given Celtic by the end of the season?
Aye, 2022 arrived, aye.
You know, arrived for absolute pennies.
Oh, he's an amazing player. The only reason I made that point is just when I said, look at the depth or the lack of depth on the bench. Plus, there's a couple of players, Hatate as well, perhaps. Although, as I've put up on the screen there, Marzino says, don't forget Bernardo, Forrest, McGregor, Trusty, Scales as well. So I think that's definitely worth mentioning.
Yeah, there's a few out, but it did leave them a bit threadbare in terms of the bench. I think, listen, as always with Celtic, the wheels keep turning, players come and go, and recruitment is key. And I think, listen, there has been an issue with recruitment in recent years that the wheels haven't turned as quickly and as smoothly as they should have done. I still don't think the January window was up to much either. I know that they brought back Jota, lined up Kieran Tierney and brought in Jeffrey Schlupp. I still think that they needed more. I think that it was late in the window in August as well. I think to keep those wheels turning, I think a striker, letting Kyogo go in January without a replacement lined up was just a bit silly. I mean, really? I mean, it was just like, just God forbid Celtic were only 5 points clear at that point. That happened. There'd have been folk banging pitchforks at the gates.
Surely, sorry to jump in, but surely they wouldn't have allowed it to happen if that was the case.
But then again, so why allow it to happen? Because the gap at that point was about 11 points, or whatever it was. It's okay to sell your best striker and not have a replacement lined up. It didn't make sense. It's a bit, and that is definition of a bit of arrogance. Well, we'll be fine. I mean, it's not fine because they're asking Maida to go and do a shift in the middle, and after an hour, they bring on a sub, and he goes to the wing and plays 90 minutes. So at some point, he is going to hit a wall. It might already be close to hitting a wall at this point in time, because he's the one who's asked to do 2 jobs every game. It's not to do a shift up front for an hour, then go off, or do a shift in the wing, and then go off. It's do a shift up front and then go play wing to allow somebody else to go up front. Yeah. Because he's been asked. And it's clearly that Brendan Rodgers doesn't see Adam Ida as his main striker. Mm-hmm. So if he doesn't see him as main striker now, he didn't back then in January. They had to go and get a striker, and Rodgers knew that, and he asked for that and didn't get it. And that has a knock-on effect throughout the team as well, because Kuhn is clearly not the same player he was up until January. Maybe he could do with a break, but he can't take a break because Celtic need that balance through this period, and he's played through it, and he's had a dip. There's no doubt he's a dip. I thought he was poor on Sunday. Yeah. But they can't really manage that dip, because then it's, who do you put in the right flank? We'll play Yang, maybe, but a game like against Rangers, who we go there? We'll put Maida and then Jota. So Maida again's a third job to do. So Maida's the guy filling the gaps in for Celtic's lack of activity in the transfer window.
Yeah. And these wheels, Michael, had better be oiled from a Celtic point of view for as soon as this window opens, because we've spoken about it on here before. There can't be last gasp in the window this year, because the Champions League qualifiers are back on the menu.
Yeah,
and for the strides that Celtic made in the Champions League this season, it would be criminal if they never got a chance to go back in there and battle again, and they cannot afford to be caught short getting into these qualifiers. That would be suicide to be doing that,
No. I think the qualifiers is at the end of August, isn't it, Swan, as well? So before the window shuts, it might be a case of, right, nobody's getting sold until we know where we are. And that
used to be the case, didn't it? It was always a case of Virgil van Dijk, right? You need to wait till after the qualifiers, and then, it happened with him. It happened with Fraser Forster, I think it happened, maybe not Fraser, maybe when you are, maybe. There were certainly guys until because it also had a defined,
Dembele.
also defined who they could get, because it was maybe guys that they were looking at who wanted Champions League, but Celtic couldn't tell them they were definitely in it.
Yeah,
you know, that's been something has been a selling point.
Yeah,
in the last couple of years, that they're guaranteed group stage Champions League football, so it makes it a much easier sell. Celtic can't guarantee that now so that's going to have an effect as well, you would think. So I think you're right, Michael. I think more probably could and should have been done in January.
I think very quickly over the summer, a lot of attention, been quite quiet so far, a lot of attention might fall on kind of Paul Tisdale and see what's happening there, because, I mean, listen, Rodgers himself has said over the last 3 or 4 windows, things haven't been quite right, and it's evident. I mean, going out last minute and spending way over the odds for players at the last minute hasn't really worked out. But it's all right. I think the guys that have come in have done pretty well. But that can't happen again. There has to be a smoother process so they can be insulated if someone comes and buys a Kuhn or buys a Maida or whatever. They need to be ready for it. So there's plenty. That's what I'm saying. Listen, Celtic, you've also got to caveat it. They're on target to win, like Swan says, on target to win another treble.
Yeah.
I mean, Rodgers has been going for 12 trophies out of 13 or something like that.
Remarkable.
I mean, you need to be careful with the knee-jerk reactions to a defeat. You're picking hairs as well, but there is things to think about. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Celtic's target at the beginning of the season, Daniel, was to try and win a treble and make progress in Europe.
Yeah.
Aye, exactly.
To get to the playoff for the Champions League, and they're pretty close.
I would also throw in as well. Look, I think Celtic were miles off it yesterday for most of the game, but with 10 minutes to go, did any of us think that it was going to be Rangers that were going to win it? No, I mean, it looked like Celtic were going to win the game. That's an
interesting point, Daniel. That's an interesting point. That Celtic, if Celtic are so far off it, yet they're still in the game with 10 minutes to go.
And even like Sloop had a goal from and he had an effort, didn't he? And they had a couple of chances, Celtic, and I refused. There was no one saying, "Oh, Rangers are going to win this."
Well, the third thing I said at the time yesterday, that if Celtic at their worst gets out with a 3-2 win, I think you've got to take into account Rangers were tiring badly, given the fact of the back of the European game. So that it was skewed slightly, but they could have got out there with a 3-2 win. I think most folk were expecting that at 2 each, and having been miles off it for much of the game. Even at 2 each, Celtic weren't great. The passing wasn't great. The movement was a bit disjointed. I don't think I've seen Celtic so wasteful with the ball. But then you look at the end of the game, you look at the stats, and they had more shots on goal, more chances. The XG, which is something that I'm not sure we go along with, and, as old guys like me and Swanee go along with. It was higher, possession was higher. So you got that. Well, the stats are showing that this is probably a game that Celtic could have edged. But the reality... You're
getting the same with Philip Clement, Michael.
Well, I'm going to say Clement and his moral victory cup.
More shots, more possession, more that.
Well, you know what? It's actually similar, because Clement said, "Oh, we had 4 shots on target." You say, "Yeah, well, they all came at 3-0 down." That doesn't really matter. It doesn't quite work out that way. But what I'm saying is that Celtic were in the game right up to the final few minutes, and at 2 each, I think might have been actually probably a fair account. But Celtic were miles off it, and Rangers were tiring, so it was just an interesting kind of battle. Listen, maybe we're all guilty of going in with 2 feet and analysing it and taking it to the minutiae, and it was just a good game that could have went either way.
Even Johnston, Mick, right at the death, had that chance.
Well, some of us had a wee bet on 3 each at 50-1, and they could have run at the pitch and strangled Arsenal Johnston for that one. Because I think, listen, 3 each is always the bet. As I said at the start, 3 each is always the bet in these games, because we've had 3. This is nearly a third 3 each in 6 games.
I'm not for a second suggesting that Celtic or Rangers could take on Man City or Liverpool or whoever. But I see what you said at the top of the show, mate. I completely agree. For entertainment and just sheer mayhem, it's the best fixture in British football.
Must watch, absolutely must watch, honestly.
I need to move on to Rangers, though. Rangers' EZOK says that's 3 times Celtic have apparently been off it, though. Surely you've got to give us credit for having a clear game planning in Celtic now that's working. We were blowing and we still got the job done. Fair point. That's a fair point. Rangers, Swanee, they came with a game plan. They always look dangerous and probably got a deserved victory.
I think both Michael and I have already said that.
You did. You both did, to be fair.
Played well, carried out their instructions to the letter and got the job done. So I'm not quite sure what that is.
What Barry Ferguson's been talked about so much, right? I don't even know what more we can really say about it, other than to put you on the spot. Do either or both of you think or any either of you think Barry Ferguson will still be Rangers manager on the opening day of next season?
Well, I answered this yesterday, so I'll let Michael have this one.
What did you say, Swanee?
I said it, pretty sure I alluded to the fact that it was far too small a sample size of games. He's only had 5 games so far for anybody to be making that call. But, you know, there's no doubt Barry Ferguson's got a bounce at this Rangers squad. And he's got them, you know, he's got them working hard. He's got them doing the things. He's instilled a bit of character. The things he says he was going to do. He's done that. It's 5 games. The Rangers' job is a massive job. I have no doubt. Having been there as a player for the length of time he was and having the connection at the club, it's not a case of it would be too big for him because he understands it completely. But I think there needs to be more evidence. Because as I said yesterday, Barry's done a brilliant job to put Fenerbahce out. Philip Clement won games in Europe. Barry's beaten Celtic. Philip Clement beat Celtic. So I think there needs to be a bit more evidence before the end of the season. But the other thing I said, Michael, was he's certainly done enough to show that whether a new ownership wants a glamour name or somebody else, their own guy in the door, there surely has to be a place in the building for Barry Ferguson, no matter what happens, if he wants it. Surely on the coaching staff or some way, shape or form, if he wants it. But that's at the least, you know. If Rangers going to win every game from now until the end of the season, then that's credentials. Then you're serious talk. Then
I'm slightly listen. A devil's advocate. I think the last week has been pretty sensational for Rangers' performance in Fenerbahce. Outstanding. I actually think it was even every bit as impressive. Seeing it out at home, the way the game went, I think seeing that out was every bit as impressive as the away leg. And again, on Sunday, I thought they did really well. Like Swan's touched on it there. I think the proof's in the pudding is the same old problems because Clement could have beat Fenerbahce and he could have beat Celtic. Has done, like you say. Will he go and beat Aberdeen in the league? Will they see the season out against the rest of the teams? Bilbao's a tough tie, but you wouldn't put it past them. It's the same old issue with Rangers against teams that are going to come at them and have a go. They've got a way of playing that can hit in the break. They're dangerous. And at times they're decent at defending backs to the wall. The problems come when they have to break teams down and are susceptible to balls through the middle and on the break, and they get punished. So I have to wait and see if that's still going to be the same pattern. They could go out and get beat at Aberdeen and then beat Bilbao. This is the conundrum that Rangers have been in all season, and this is why nobody can figure them out. How it affects or how the manager has having an effect on that, we don't really know. I think Barry said all the right things and he's got a reaction. I think there has been times when the character's been good, but we've had this in the past. I mean, the pressures are off a wee bit and there's no expectation they can go and perform. Again, I think the new owners might have a new vision. I agree with Swan. I think Barry deserves to be in the building. I think he's clearly a good motivator. I think he's showed he's tactically astute. I think the guys alongside him. I think Neil McCann and Billy Dodds have been good as well.
I said this last night, Michael. Sorry, man. I said this last night, Neil McCann. But also, I was fascinated watching the TV highlights last night. I think it was Scott Allen was on it.
Yeah,
I think Scott Allen made reference to
Billy
Dodd's set piece. If ever I saw one,
Billy Dodd special.
Yeah. So that tells you the input that's coming from the guys in behind. I'm quite sure Neil McCann's in a big say in what's been happening tactically. This is to take nothing away from Barry Ferguson, but as I on the show last night, this is clearly a team effort.
Yeah. So, listen. We know it's weird because we know these guys from when they're working in the media and all that stuff. And I've always thought Neil McCann knows his stuff. I know he can have a few scuffles here and there when he's at the Dundee and Inverness and all that stuff. But I always think he knows the football. He knows his stuff. Really tactically aware, really good. So I think they've done a good job stabilising the ship. And I said the word I think I got was they brought back a bit of pride in their team because Rangers fans are a bit bashed and bruised and I say people were kind of taking the mick a wee bit and they've got that back. They've got the bragging rights in Glasgow again for a good bit of time. And the team's is in the high, and I mean doing all right just now again after a really. Don't forget, it's not that long ago that they were like losing at home to Motherwell, getting put at the cup with Queen's Park. I mean, getting beat twice against St Mirren. I mean, fans baying for blood. I mean, it was toxic atmosphere. that seems to have kind of eased now, which that's what they hoped for when they brought in by Ferguson. Bring the guy in, try and release the pressure of a wee bit, get back a bit of pride, and then we'll see where we are in the summer. I still think the new owners, we don't know what their grand plan is. I still think they might want to bring in their own team and maybe start afresh. But I agree with Swan. I find it's a more compelling argument by the week. But there's tests away. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Rangers beat Bilbao and then get bounced out by Aberdeen. But that's just the way they are.
See, that Queen's Park game was the 9th of February. It was only 6 weeks ago, 9th of February. It's mad. You know what's going on since then.
Motherwell game was only a few weeks ago.
Yeah. But I said this in the show yesterday, sorry, and I hate to repeat myself, especially because I said it to you, Swanee, but Rangers players need to look at the mirror, honestly. It's scandalous that they can perform the way they did yesterday, but yet lose at home to St Mirren, Queen's Park, etc., etc. Just before we move on for the job talk, I think I can get up the odds just now of the bookies' odds of who's going to be the next permanent Rangers manager. And as you can see there on your screen, Russell Martin is the favourite today. So the font's a wee bit small, see you squinting there, Nick, but it is Russell Martin, I can assure you. He is the 7-4 favourite, with Barry Ferguson second, Steven Gerrard third, and even Jose Mourinho's fourth at 10-1. So that's the odds as of this evening.
I'm going to let you into a secret. I'm going to let you into a little secret, Daniel.
Go on.
I'm not going to name names because that would be unfair. But I haven't been getting texts from people involved in the betting industry trying to check up on whispers and what they're hearing. They've got as much clue as the guy cleaning his car in my street.
But crucially, Swanee, who is that cleaning his car? Is it? I don't
know. It's just my neighbour. He's a bit busy for my life.
Listen, I've got as much clue as I've got trying to read the writing that text. I was like, you borrow your glasses, Swanee.
But look, if somebody has £2.50 on somebody, Daniel, it'll drop from 10-1 to evens.
Yeah.
But would Gerrard go for being number two potentially with Steven? Would Ferguson go for being number two with Steven Gerrard potentially? I mean, that just seems a bit mad to me.
Nah, I wouldn't say that. No. I don't know. I can't speak for Barry Ferguson. I don't know.
That's just not just when you said, Mick, you could see him in the building somewhere, and I get that, but
the problem is very rarely do you get a manager come in and say, "Well, I'll accept the backroom team they're given." I mean, I think Ange Postecoglou did it at Celtic, but his situation was slightly different. Any manager worth his salt, they tend to rely on having their own team around about them, especially a guy who's there who, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but then their perception might be the first sign of trouble here. This guy might be getting linked with the job that I'm in.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
all.
Good point, Michael. That's a good point. Yeah.
Most managers are paranoid anyway. At the best times, I mean, everyone's out to get me. That's what they all think anyway. So if there's a guy in the building who's done the job, is worshipped by the fans, if I get 2 defeats in a week, I don't want people going like, get him out and get him in. Right, and that's just the way that's the way managers think. So it depends. It depends on somebody if they have a relationship with the meat Barry and think, yeah, I can work with this guy. I can trust him. But that's a kind of rare situation. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it at Celtic with Ange Postecoglou, with John Kennedy and all that stuff. Slightly different because Johnny had been there under a lot of managers and not knifed him in the back and took the job off him. So he can maybe say, "Well, okay, you get previous for not doing that. So I'll take you under my wing. You can be right. You can get a job. You can stay in the job." But that's not how it tends to be when you bring in especially going for a kind of a manager at a certain level. They want their own insulated group run about them to support them, and so that makes it difficult as well. So I don't know. There's so many unknowns with Rangers because the takeover has to get through. They have to put their main pieces in place, director of football, all these guys, and then the manager and coaching staff. And there's a lot of blocks to be built up, and we don't know any of it right now. So who knows? So I certainly don't know. If they don't know, I don't know.
We had plenty of comments coming in. If you want to get involved in the discussion, please do. Rangers Easy OK points out that obviously if Gerrard was coming back, he'd probably want Beale as his number two. I can't see that happening at all, ever in a million years. Lots of people asking where Keith Jackson is tonight, and I can break the news. Breaking news: I've had to let Keith go. He's only here on an interim basis in the Hotline Live, so I had to weigh up our options. No, he's actually in Scotland duty, so hopefully get Keith on later in the week. Mick, we have to talk about the Rangers celebrations after the third goal yesterday.
Watergate,
exactly. Bigger than Watergate, some people might say. But aye, it's now actually a police investigation, I believe. Vaclav Cherny's splashing the Celtic fans. I think Bajrami was involved in it as well. I mean, I don't even know what to say about this really, but aye, I understand you might have a bit of an update for us.
Well, listen, we all kind of listen. Scottish football, the madness, we all kind of love it and all that stuff. This is another thing we want to kind of a bit of laugh and a joke about. But I know that Police Scotland take this kind of stuff really seriously. Players are warned before these games: do not do anything to incite the crowd. Whatever you do, do not do anything to get people riled up and causing problems. Unfortunately, squishing a water bottle in the crowd, as funny as some people might find it, is slightly daft thing to do in terms of inciting a crowd. What happened? Listen, if you squatted a guy in the face in the frozen food aisle in Morrison's, the guy would. How would that go down? Do you know what I mean? What do you think is going to happen by squishing somebody in the face? Right, he's going to get a reaction. So I think what happened after the game, I know for a fact that the police had words with the SFA match delegate. I know that they're looking at it as well. There's potential there for him to get in bother with the SFA because these are things, like I say, if you get involved with the crowd, you can be. What I mean is, with this, I don't think it was up to much. I think, I said, most people brush it off as a bit of daftness, right? But from a police and SFA perspective, you think, so next time at Ibrox, if Celtic score at Ibrox and they're going to turn around and squish the fans behind the dugout for retaliation, is that how it's going to be for now? And then it goes next level. They might want to make an example of it and nip it in the bud and say, right, 2-game ban, tell the cops, we'll deal with it, 2-game ban, and that ends that kind of daft behaviour. But I say it's a storm in a water bottle.
Hey, he was dying to say that.
I know. That's fighting the urge. But you know what I mean? But I can see why. I suspect there might be a wee. I think it'd be a tap on the shoulder from the SFA rather than knocking the door from the cops. But I think the cops will lean on the SFA saying, listen, we've told you we can't be dealing with this. We don't want. Listen, we know this fixture is a potential problem at times. And there's been a little bit too much going on in terms of things getting thrown. Behaviour's been not great. We know the songs and all that stuff, right? We could talk about that all night, and we know it's pretty unsavoury. But in terms of actually threat and physical stuff, we need to be careful with that. And I think squishing a water bottle in the face of it, that seems like nothing, right? But in terms of if you're a copper or the SFA, you think, right, we can't really be having this because these things can escalate. And
you can't have it, Michael, because we can't be slaughtering supporters for throwing things onto the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
The players are going to start. I don't care whether it's water or not. You can't be squatting things into it. You can't be doing that.
No.
I'm just shaking right that you said the words match delegate. It's the phrase that is every journalist's head in his hands. The 5 words. Who is the match delegate? You know bad things are happening when that's going on.
Swan, what would happen if you got a cup of juice, right, and the player runs past you, you go to that and you soak him, right? What happens? You get huckled. You get huckled.
Rightly so.
So I mean, the guy who's the professional on the pitch, he's like, well, they shouldn't really be doing that. Do you know what I mean? For all we all think we're all daft boys, knowing it's a bit amusing at times. But that's the message that we're coming down from the powers that be. You can't behave like that. I suspect he will get any bother for it.
Would you think he will get banned, Mick?
Listen,
sorry, I'm putting you in the spot there, but
no, I'm trying to put myself. Listen, personally. Listen, as somebody who thinks kind of slightly more detached from that kind of environment and is not going to be jumping over the holdings, right, from the press box in these situations, I just think that the powers that be might think, you might have to make an example of this here, that it can't let this escalate, because if you give that the green light, what happens next?
Aye.
What happens next?
I think that's fair.
So I think they might have to. I don't know. Listen, who knows?
Although you might be able to tell me if I'm right or wrong here, Michael. I'm trying to remember, and it's scandalous by me because I think I was at the game. I can't actually remember. Did a pie fly out the Hibs end and hit Lon Shankland?
You're right.
Yeah, he threw it back.
That's right.
Am
You
I
did.
right
You're
in
right. You're spot on about that. Aye. I think it was just last season.
I don't think anything happened to Lon. So
yeah. No, so it might be all right. So Aye. As I say,
I don't know. I don't know why that came into my head. It was just because I was thinking about.
Did not pretend to not try.
But in fairness, nobody from Celtic threw anything at Václav Černý before he did it. So I suppose that's.
Did Shankar not eat the pie or something? I
think he might have done. I can't. Yeah, I vaguely remember it. I can't remember. There was a lot going on that night as well.
Yeah, I wish somebody throw a pie at me at some point. I'm starving here.
If you want to throw them away for you.
I just don't know. Listen, you know that the kind of folk in charge are going to be looking at it and thinking, maybe I have to kind of have a word here. Listen, a wee warning might suffice, but who knows? Who knows?
Before we wrap up, guys, and get to that long-awaited dinner, I just need to mention Dundee's huge win in the Dundee derby, because going into that one, I don't think many people fancied Dundee. There was even rumblings of relegation talk, stuff like that. First win at Tannadice for 21 years. Fantastic result, and I mean, I've only seen the highlights, but by all accounts, could have been more. Could have been 5 or 6-2.
Well, I must admit, I did have a small giggle when you were when you started this show by saying
there was only one game.
It's only one game. It's the must-watch game. It wasn't even the best game in Scotland yesterday for thrills, spills, goals.
That's a fair point. Very fair point.
It was up the road in Dundee, which was even better, which was remarkable given what happened at Celtic Park. But it was a fabulous result for Dundee, because you could feel the tension starting to build around the bottom of the table, and another point for St Johnstone on Saturday, cranked it right onto Dundee. Asked them a big question getting into that game yesterday, and what a response. Wonderful.
Am I that mad for continuously thinking, why hasn't Simon Murray had a wee shot at Scotland, even into a squad, to see how he looks?
I think a few people have felt saying that. But
I mean, that's 18 goals this season, 23 last season. Scored against Celtic, Rangers, repeatedly over the 2 seasons. I know he's 32, but I don't know, what more can the guy do?
You're just trying to get a pal a gig, aren't you?
Well, no, I'll be honest, he was meant to be on here tonight, so I'm actually raging, but I'll stay faithful to my point. But
not much a pal then.
Exactly, Swan, exactly.
I think his agent's doing a bit of work now at the studio here tonight, isn't he? I mean, there's a cap bonus, maybe, is that what it is?
I'm on a commission. I've been rumbled. No, but look, is it that far-fetched that he would get into a squad?
I think it probably is now, yeah.
But
whether that's right or wrong, I think the time has passed.
He's just turned 33. I think you look at the squad now, and James Wilson being in there, Hurst, Lennon Miller, and you can see Clark now starting to think, looking towards the future. At 33, unfortunately, I think. Listen, he might do the return, but it's in terms of long-term future, it's not the solution. But he's having a great season. He's a cracking player. He's done it for years, everywhere he's been. He's one of these players that teams who have him love him. Teams that don't hate him. He's got plenty of friends, as we're sitting with one of them, and he's also got plenty of enemies as well, which is a good sign he's a player.
Well, listen, as I say, stood us up for tonight. So Simon, if you're watching, very disappointed.
You know Simon Murray's watching this and doesn't have the first clue who Daniel is.
That's probably true.
He's stalker.
That's a lot closer to the truth than you might know. On that wonderful note, I think that brings us to the end of tonight's Hotline Live with Record Sport. Thanks so much for all of your comments. We really appreciate it. If you want to get involved in the discussion tomorrow night, we'll be doing it all again at 6 p.m. Swanee Mick, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Daniel.
Wait for a glass of water.
I feel like I've been sitting with those 2 guys for the Muppets. What are they called? Stetler and Waldorf or something?
You have to meet Simon for a beer.
Kermit and Fozzie.
No, thanks very much, guys, and thanks for watching at home. Cheers.